Dear Diary, today is October 17th, 1997. To be honest, there's not a lot to report. Ever since Poppy's account, it's been pretty quiet. On a good note, there's no more vandalism. I guess people do get tired of stupid jokes after a while. If there's one good thing about Poppy's account, it was that it tied together some theories I have about this town and what's happening in it. To begin with, there seems to be a weird obsession with blood. My theory is it's some weird sting operation thing, but there's little evidence to prove that. There was that group of people jumping that girl's boyfriend, but that's pretty much all I've got. Another thing I've noticed from both accounts and my own experience is that the adults in this town are completely delusional. Maybe it's to do with them not believing teenagers because, well, they're teenagers, or they want to preserve this small town aesthetic. I don't know. Maybe it'd be helpful to go out again and ask around the neighborhoods. Maybe I'll pretend to be a part of the school newspaper or something, and I'll say I'm taking a poll. I could hear from more families and adults and really test some theories. Go door by door, hide the tape recorder in my bag. I see Poppy around school sometimes. She looks at me all sad. She probably pities me. She probably thinks that she's better than me. But I am fine, and I definitely don't need her pity. Just because she thinks happiness is tied to popularity or whatever, because she's always surrounded by friends and people, doesn't mean that I'm unhappy because I'm not popular. I am perfectly fine without friends because I have this. I have this investigation that keeps me busy enough. Honestly, with school and this, I don't even have time for friends. And this is real and important. So I don't need her. I don't need...
Hello?
Hi?
Are you talking to yourself?
No?
Okay, but I heard you. You're sitting in the dark talking to yourself. Do you want me to turn the lights on?
What do you want, Olivia?
I know you're the person doing the weird box thing.
Yeah, apparently everyone does. So what?
I have something I want to submit.
Then why didn't you submit something on paper? That's the whole point of the box. Anonymity.
I don't want to leave a paper trail.
What?
I thought this was an investigation. You don't know what a paper trail is?
No, I do, but... You know what? Never mind. Okay. Here. Please, come. Sit. So, just speak into the recorder and record your account. I'm ready whenever you are.
My brother is dead.
What?
Can I tell my story?
Yeah, sorry. Since when did you have a brother? I've never heard of another Blackwater kid.
Since birth.
Right. Sorry. Go on.
My brother is dead, and he has been for a while now, but I don't think his death was natural at all. I think my brother was murdered. I think my brother was murdered by the people you're investigating, so if his murder can help in your investigation, I'd like to help. I want to bring whoever killed him to justice. I think you understand that need for justice, considering how intense you've been in your investigation of this. Setting this up for kids at school, as well as going around the town harassing people. Don't look at me like that. Of course I know about that. My parents are pretty well respected in this town, so we hear a lot. Forgive me, but I'm about to rant. I never get to talk about my brother anymore, not since we found his body. My parents don't allow me to anymore. They're acting as if he never existed, as if his death is some humiliating thing that needs to be covered up. As if he was never their son. As if he would never even mattered.
Hey, it's okay. I'd prefer if you stuck to the important details, but if you need to rant, go ahead, I guess.
Thank you. We were pretty close ever since I was little. He was a little bit older than me. They were 6 years apart, but he was pretty much my idol. I wanted to be just like him. he just seemed to float through life. He got good grades, even though he barely even cared about school. He had a lot of friends, and he was generally well respected by the people in this town. He didn't even care what my parents thought about him. They hated that he wanted to be a musician, but he didn't even care. He just kept playing anyway. I wanted to be like that so much. He was unashamedly himself. And I don't know if I could ever be like that, especially now that he's gone. A little before his death, he was about to turn 18. Him and my parents kept arguing about his hobby. They kept telling him that he was being ridiculous and unreasonable, that he knew deep down that he needed to settle down here and focus on the responsibility of the family company. And that he should know that no one ever leaves this town, because why would they? It's perfect here. He just would get so angry as they told him this and tell them that they didn't know what they were talking about and that he always hated it here. That he felt suffocated and misunderstood by everyone here. That he wanted to go somewhere where he was free. They argued like that pretty much every single day. I tried to help the best I could, but I was only 12. I didn't understand the pressure he was facing. I was just a little kid. Sometimes he let me into his room and he would play the guitar until I fell asleep. Other times, on really bad nights, he locked me out of his room. I would just bang on the door, begging for him to let me in, but I understand now that he just needed space from the world, from everything to do with our family, the town, including me. As time went on, the fights became more and more frequent. They even argued that the night that my brother graduated high school. The car ride back was one of the worst nights of my life. That argument, when we got home, was so heated. My mother broke a wine glass when she threw it at my brother, and it shattered on the wall next to him. That set him off, saying that he'd rather be dead than a part of our family anymore, and he went to go hide in his room after. I tried to follow him, but my mom and dad stopped me. We talked for a really long time that night. She made me my favorite drink, cuddled me up in a soft blanket, and explained things I didn't know about my brother. They told me that he was sick, and that he didn't know what he was doing some of the time. And that when he screamed like that, when my parents were just being reasonable with him, that was his sickness. They said that if he stayed in the town and actually followed the path my parents set for him, that he would eventually be cured of his sickness. That gave me so much hope. That meant no more arguing, and my brother would finally be okay. I thanked my parents, and I went upstairs to tell my brother the good news, but... Sorry, give me a second.
Yeah, of course, take your time.
Thanks. But when I opened his bedroom door, his window was open and he was nowhere to be found. I immediately panicked. I knew what he was doing. He had mentioned it a couple of times before, so I immediately knew he had run away. I grabbed a flashlight and climbed out the window to follow after him. I ran through the woods almost all night searching for him. I didn't want to tell my parents because I didn't want them to argue again. I hoped that I would find him and talk him into coming home with me. I searched and I searched, but I just couldn't find him. So after what felt like hours, I walked back home. When I walked back into the front door, my parents were also nowhere to be found and all the lights were off. I assumed they had gone to bed. I thanked whatever is out there for that luck, and I went to my room and I fell asleep pretty much as soon as my head hit the pillow. Since that day, I went out and I looked for my brother every night. I was so tired, and I was basically a zombie every day, but I didn't care. I just wanted to make sure my brother was okay. Part of me knew I was searching for nothing, but another part of me told me that he was still there, lost and scared, and it told me that I needed him because I didn't know what I was going to do without him. After 2 weeks of searching, I was about to give up. I promised myself one more day. I got everything ready, snuck out the window, and half-heartedly began my search, calling his name, but not really with any hopes of hearing a response or seeing anyone. I made my way through the forest near my house when I heard something new that I hadn't experienced any night before. A steady drip, drip, drip. I felt something that felt like hope in my gut, and I raced towards the sound. The sound reached full volume, and I was confident I was right there. I looked around, calling for my brother, when I moved forward and my calf bumped into something hard on the ground. When I pointed my flashlight to look at it, I I found one of those orange construction buckets, filled to the brim with what looked like blood. Soft drops of it were still falling into it, so I pointed my flashlight up, and my brother, the only person I ever felt close to, the only person who has ever been there for me, hung above me in the tree. I'll never forget it. His head was almost level mine, and as if he was hung upside down from a large tree branch. His body was so thin. He looked almost entirely drained of any blood in his body. I could see the bones in his arms, his face, anywhere that wasn't clothed, and his eyes. They took his eyes. I stared at my brother's face, and all I was met with was sharp bones and gaping black holes where his eyes were meant to be. It was horrible. I remember screaming and crying until my throat hurt. I screamed as I ran back through the forest, trying not to run too far so I didn't forget where he was. I remember screaming for help for hours. My throat hurt and I began to faintly taste blood, but I just kept screaming. No one came. And when I ran back home to tell my parents, they didn't care. They acted as if I was crazy, hallucinating out of grief for my brother and lack of sleep. I tried bringing them back to where I found him, but it was like he disappeared. I eventually gave up on trying to convince people that I wasn't, crazy, and I let them win. I let the memory of my brother die in this town. I gave up fighting to keep him. Is that enough information?
Yeah, more than enough. Thank you for sharing that, Olivia. I'm really sorry for your loss.
Fine, you didn't kill him.
Still.
It's fine. You didn't really. Thank you for listening. I've got to go.
Wait, no, I still have some questions.
I have to go, really. My mom needs me.
Okay. Thank you again.
Okay. Bye.
Signing off.
Hi everyone. Our writer for this episode is Tobi H. Our voice comes from Clover N for Eden and Tobi H for Olivia. This episode was produced and edited by Clover N and Corde G. We really hope you enjoyed our 6th episode of Blackwater. We hope you will tune in on July 12th for episode 7 on YouTube and Spotify at @mi_Lotus Valley. If you're eager for extra content, you can check out our TikTok and our YouTube, again, at @mi_Lotus Valley. Thank you so much for listening, and again, please come join us in 2 weeks on July 12th for the release of episode 7 of Blackwater.